Oh, hey friend, it's Dawn, and today's podcast is going to take you on a wild and twisty ride through my struggles with procrastination, imposter syndrome, and the urge to be perfect. And spoiler, I do not have my shit together either. From tech meltdowns to craving chicken nuggets, I spill it all about my messy day. Join me as I share the best business advice you'll hear all year. Take messy, immediate, and imperfect action. So let's tackle our fears together and get stuff done. You ready? All right, stay quirky, stay you, and get ready to enjoy this ride. Welcome to the place where overthinking, oversharing, and overanalyzing are basically our secret superpowers. I'm your host, Dawn Bradley, the anxious creative, and we're diving headfirst into life, business, and relationships, all the messy, chaotic, and freaking imperfect parts. This is your safe space, your judgment-free zone, where you're not only celebrated for being you, but where your quirks, weirdness, and even every wonderful, awkward thing in between are embraced like a big freaking hug from your best friend. And hey, I get it. Sometimes the anxiety creeps in, whispering that you might upset someone or that you don't quite fit in. But guess what? Right here, right now, you're free to let your hair down, be your unique, awesome self, and share all those big feelings. So buckle up, because this ride, it's gonna have you laughing till you snort, crying those big, happy, sad tears, you know, the kind that turn your face into a red, blotchy masterpiece, and also feeling joy like never before. So grab a coffee, throw on those big fuzzy socks, and let's dive into this magical mess together. Because who needs to be perfect when we can just be our freaking amazing selves? You and me. You're exactly where you're meant to be. So let's dive in. This isn't how I wanted to record this podcast, but the universe has definitely been testing me today to see if I practice what I preach. So today's podcast is titled The Best Business Advice You've Heard All Year That Melts Your Anxiety Away. And it's so funny because I have these like notes for myself to exactly what I want to share with you on this podcast. But I'm not going to share any of it probably, because the magic that I create a lot of the times is my own lived experience. And today has been nonstop. So last night I went to update my computer, and after I updated it, it wouldn't let me log in. I went to record this podcast yesterday afternoon, and then I got frustrated and I was like, you know what? Tomorrow's a new day. I've been really struggling with this like newfound procrastination that I've never had when I've been passionate about what I've done. If you're on my social media or even this podcast, but I feel like I've been struggling with a different type of burnout. I've actually been reading a lot about dopamine burnout, and I think that might be what it is. The best business advice you've heard all year that melts your anxiety away is nobody has their shit together. I'm going to go deeper into this because I've always said I don't struggle with perfectionism. However, I was set on wanting to use my desktop computer, wanting to use my nicer camera that I have hooked up to my laptop right now. I couldn't get it to work. I just painted my office this weekend. I don't like the way it looks. I want to get a gallery wall going. I hate that this camera is like a wider lens. If you're watching this podcast on YouTube, you can see my whiteboard. I didn't think I struggled with perfectionism, and I teach how to take messy, immediate, imperfect action. And yet I got in my own way of thinking I needed things to look a certain way. I realized that this is a theme in my life. It's not about being perfect, but it's about controlling perception. That's a really hard one to realize. I don't want you to watch this podcast and think, oh, it's like this whole fear of being, it's not about perfectionism for me. It's about what if you perceive me to not have my shit together, which the reality is I talk about not having my shit together all the time. So I have to peel back the layers in my own life and be like, what is it that's causing me this way? I want things to look polished and professional. I like things to look aesthetically pleasing. I don't feel like this video is aesthetically pleasing, especially as someone who is a hairstylist for 20 years. Primarily my listeners and students are beauty industry, but I have a lot of service providers. I want it to look cute, and I get really caught up on things looking nice. Like even the other night, I made a charcuterie board for my boyfriend, and I needed to make it look cute. And I'll even get hung up on, I go live on Instagram for my business breakfast in bedhead, and I'm okay because it's called business breakfast in bedhead. But when I come here to record, I get in this thing of, oh, I need to be dressed nice and I need to have my makeup done. It's funny how I still get in my own way around that. So I am committing to moving forward as the paradox that I am, because I like getting done up. And I also like being a complete slob. And the best business advice I can give you and myself today is to start taking messy, immediate, imperfect action and recognizing sooner when you're delaying it. My computer stopped working. I had to take it to the repair guy. Then I set up my laptop and the software wasn't working. My nicer camera that I like how it looks. And then I finally got it working and I was like, okay, I'll go record later. And then as I started recording, it's like overloading my laptop. I don't know. My laptop was like making these noises, overheating, and it would record for 3 seconds and then it would freeze. My body was shaking earlier. I was so frustrated. I'm like, I just want to get this done, but I want to get it done a certain way. This is where the control freak in me enters. I get an idea in my head of how I want things to be. And if it's not going that way, I'll get hyper focused on trying to make it go that way. So again, I struggle with having control and wanting things done a certain way. It's more of this control freak that comes out and wanting to control perception. Like I want to make sure, like, are people going to judge me? It's so weird. When I say it out loud, I'm like, wow, that's silly. But you don't always realize the internal thoughts that are going on. So no word of lie, I had to go to the airport and then I came home, I walked my dogs and I was like, I really want chicken nuggets and fries. I'm feeling like I just want to go sleep. Everything in my body is screaming, don't record this podcast. I know that it's not like a honor my body moment. It's a, I am delaying and procrastinating, even though I'm really excited about the podcast episodes that I'm doing and that I have coming up. For some reason, my body's like, abort, don't get vulnerable. I was in San Diego last weekend speaking at the Hero Retreat with Masters of Balayage, and someone came up to me and totally called me, oh, my neighbor is literally blowing leaves right outside the window right now. How funny is that? I feel watched and silly. People, okay, side tangent. We'll go back to the Masters of Balayage. People always ask me how I get so confident. I'm like, I record videos in my office alone. I don't think I could be this confident walking around with my phone, but I also speak on stages. But it's funny, literally this weekend I was having a one-on-one conversation where I felt so vulnerable. I can stand on stage and talk about my biggest failures, but one-on-one admitting things that I'm nervous and vulnerable about is so different. So I don't want you to be fooled to think that I don't struggle with vulnerability or confidence sometimes. But okay, what's the word I'm looking for? Let's just rewind back. At Masters of Balayage Hero Retreat, someone came up to me and they're like, I love your podcast. When are you going to start doing it again? So embarrassed. I have let my own fears, insecurities, and vulnerabilities get in the way of helping other people, which is so wild and so silly. I realized that I need to get past my own fear of what this might look like, how I want to look, how aesthetically pleasing I want to look, and show and practice what I preach, which is embarrassing on some level that I didn't realize that I was falling into the same trap. After I got home, walked my dogs, fed them, went upstairs, was finding everything. I'm like, oh, I could tidy this up. My sheets are dry in the dryer. I want to go get chicken nuggets really bad. And I was like, no, Dawn, go do the thing that you don't want to do. I heard this on a podcast a few months ago that the dopamine that I will get from completing the thing that I don't want to do is worth it. I haven't had chicken nuggets in a hot minute. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that a few weeks ago, I cut out processed food, cut out caffeine, was eating really clean and felt so good. When I went to San Diego, I fell off the wagon a little bit, not too bad. And I want to get back on it because I know I feel the best. My brain works best and I show up my best. However, because I've been struggling to get things done, I was like, I need a reward system. So after I finish recording this podcast, I'm going to go get chicken nuggets, and I like chicken McNuggets. Like I'm going to McDonald's. I'm going to feel like crap after, but I needed something to motivate me today. Sometimes I've realized for myself, it's been like a year and a half of really struggling to show up in the way that I want to and to push past. And I think I've been working through a lot of past shit, a lot of present things, like big changes in my life. Anytime a big change has happened, it's taken me time to recoup and recover. So I'm trying to be really gentle with myself, but also realizing that I'm meant to be here to serve you. What a disservice I'm doing to other people to get in my own way. Done is better than perfect. B+ work is still a pass. It's so funny. I was not an academic student. I would get like 90s up until midterm, and then I'd get bored or lose interest. And then I graduated with a 72% average. I didn't need to be an A+ student in high school. And yet now, as a 41-year-old woman who has been self-employed for almost 15 years, I don't feel like I can show up with B+ work. I think it's a little bit social media and the comparisonitis that lives out there, But I put such high expectations on myself. Sometimes I think unconsciously, I put such high expectations on myself in order to avoid getting vulnerable and doing the thing. If I can't do it perfectly or exactly how I want it to be, I almost convinced myself not to record this podcast until I order prints online, print them out, buy frames, and hang them up so I can have a really cute gallery wall. I actually convinced myself not to record this until I painted my office white this weekend. Thank you very much to an anxiety and panic attack. I stayed up until 3 a.m. painting my office. Sometimes anxiety is very motivating, but it's funny. And I share this. It's a little bit embarrassing. I was holding myself back from recording this because I fell out of love with the paint in my office. I'm like, clean slate, let's get it back to white. And then I was going to even go, and it's this delay and procrastination tactic that it's always one more thing. When I paint, then I will. And then I painted and I was like, oh, a cute gallery wall. That would look way cuter. And I want cohesiveness and I want consistency. Yes, consistency is nice in your business and good. However, start before you're ready. Jump before you had to land. B+ work is still a pass. Eventually, I'll maybe have a gallery wall. Maybe I'll change my mind and put something else there. But the realities of what I'm sharing with you on this podcast doesn't require a cute background. I even think of the first salon that I opened. It was just me and it wasn't cute. I opened out of necessity. I had clients I needed to see. So I had a chair, a mirror, and a sink, and it wasn't cute. But they got their service done. I never have taken out a loan for my business, fun fact. As I was able to, I put money into my business and made it look cuter. Same thing when I moved to Calgary here. And I opened up my salon downtown. It wasn't super cute. I didn't have an interior designer help me. I didn't know what I was doing. It was functional. I knew I had all I needed to give people an amazing service. Whatever service you provide, stop getting caught up in thinking that things need to be perfect. It's just a delay tactic for you not to be seen as a beginner or a starter or not exactly where you want to be yet. But the only way you can get to where you want to go is to start. Right? If you ran a race and you're like, I just want to finish first place before I even start the race, how can you finish first? You can't get to the finish line if you don't start. Sometimes starts are messy. I've seen this reel about this girl who literally trips and falls and loses a shoe, I think maybe, in a race, puts it back on, and still wins first place. Stop thinking the speed bumps, roadblocks, detours that you're coming across right now means that you shouldn't continue on. B+ work is a pass. It doesn't need to be perfect. Less than 1% of the time does a baseball player hit a home run. Can you imagine if you're a baseball player and you're like, I'm not even going to try if I don't hit a home run every time? That's not reality. Stop putting these expectations on yourself and start recognizing that when you put these expectations, when they're showing up, like when I was in my kitchen going, oh, I'm just going to get chicken nuggets right now. Oh, you know what? I'll just record that podcast tomorrow morning. And like these delay tactics. I'm like, I have been delaying this for so long. Why? Because I'm embarrassed. I'm feeling some sort of embarrassment about not being enough, not being worthy. I worked through a lot of that struggles in the past, and I need you to know that our business lives and our relationships are so interconnected. Yes, I teach a lot about business. I have my program, Rock Your Business. However, I've been struggling to show up the way I used to. It was in my personal life that my self-worth and self-value took a hit. I let someone else's actions make me conclude that I wasn't worthy. And logically, that seems silly. Emotionally, that seems totally legit. And so I need you to understand that you logically talk yourself out of things, and yet you keep coming up against these invisible brick walls that you can't get past. So ask yourself, is there a memory connected with this? Like, or how old do I feel right now? Because those things really help me go like, why am I avoiding recording this podcast? Why am I avoiding posting on Instagram? Why am I avoiding reaching out to those clients to see if they want to rebook? Why am I avoiding even starting my business? Why am I avoiding asking this person for a collaboration? Why am I avoiding going live? Why am I avoiding applying for that gig that I want? And get deeper and peel back the layers and find out what it is and ask yourself, is there some sort of event that happened in the past that's feeling similar to this moment that I'm letting dictate? I'll tell you, I realized the other day, I was talking with someone about hanging out with girls, and I was like, nope, I wouldn't. And I realized I have such a fear around hanging out with groups of girls. Is there a memory connected to this? I had two memories pop up. One, when I was in grade 3, I visited a friend after we moved to a new city. I had a horrible weekend, got left out, whispering and teasing. And then another one in grade 5 where I had this big slumber party. And then that Monday, all the girls in my class cornered me at recess and basically told me I was a bad friend because I had tried to include these other 2 girls who were at the slumber party that were from a different class, tried to make them feel welcome, and I was told that I was bad to the rest of them. And so these moments, although in hindsight don't seem like that big of a deal, right? If we just think with our logical brain, that's not that big of a deal. However, in that moment, grade 3 Dawn, going to visit a friend for the weekend, feeling left out, feeling like she's getting talked about, teased, giggled at, I felt so alone. Grade 5 Dawn, girls coming and feeling like I was being attacked, getting literally cornered, not knowing what to do, gave me this feeling that I don't fit in, I don't belong. Groups of girls are really unsafe. I realized that when I make friends or introduce 2 friends, I get really nervous. Even in your business, you have to ask yourself, where are these things showing up? Where's this anxiety? Where are you halting? Where are you making excuses? Where are you not showing up? Where are you finding ways to not do the thing that you committed to doing? I literally have a Post-it note that says, record podcast. And my business mentor said, every time I complete one of these things, I get to crumple it up. And I'm crumpling that up because by the time I'm finished, this will be recorded. Next one is write my newsletter. I haven't written a newsletter in forever. I've totally fallen off the wagon and I'm embarrassed to share that. However, the kind of caveat to this is I built my business in a way that I've been able to take a step back and not worry financially, which is pretty dang cool. And so now I'm coming back from a place of authenticity, of truth, of compassion with myself to show up messy, to take messy, immediate, imperfect action. And I'm going to reward myself with some chicken nuggies while I sit on my couch with my laptop and edit tonight. I just want you to know this is the best business advice you will hear all year. Start asking yourself, why am I delaying? Why am I avoiding? And how can I take messy, immediate, imperfect action today, right now? You've got this, friend. You have everything you need. I almost convinced myself that I needed to order a new desk and a new light and a new tripod. Oh my gosh. It's so easy to convince yourself you need all these bells and whistles, and there'll always be something else. Just do the thing. I'm challenging you. Ask yourself those 3 questions I just shared. Rewind this if you need to. And then go take action right now. Even if you've got only 2 minutes. Even if you're in the car and it means making a phone call. Do the thing you've been avoiding doing. All right, friend. Thank you so much for listening. You're amazing. Stay weird. Stay you. And we'll talk to you soon. Okay, you beautiful badass. First things first, I want to thank you. Thanks for hanging out with me in this vulnerable share of a podcast. Seriously, the fact that I can show up, get real, and I know that this space will be free from judgment, well, that's just amazing. And it's because of you and your amazingness. So now that we've wrapped up this heart-to-heart, goofy, laugh till we snort and almost pee our pants episode, I want to take a second to hype you up. Yep, you! The hustling entrepreneur, the big-hearted people pleaser, the rock star service provider. You're juggling more hats than anyone I know, and still you're here tuning in. You are the MVP of this wild ride we call life. And speaking of roller coasters, life, am I right? It's got all the loops, dips, and unexpected twists. But hey, we're riding it together. Your support, it's everything to me. And I hope our silly, deep, and sometimes a little too real convos bring a bit of sunshine and laughter to your day. And remember, life is about being a work in progress. And that's 100% okay. We all are works in progress. Embrace your weirdness, your quirks, your big emotional moments. They're what make you uniquely you. And that deserves a full-on celebration. So here's your gentle but kind, fierce reminder, you're amazing. Keep smashing those boundaries, making those big, scary decisions, and don't ever dim that fiery, magical spark of yours. If this episode gave you some feels, share it with your fellow dreamers, doers, and movers, and quirkiers. Let's spread this message as far and as wide as we can get it. And hey, if you've got stories, thoughts, or just want to say hi, slide into my DMs. I'm all ears for the more heart-to-heart moments. But until next time, Keep being your rock star self. Stay quirky, stay silly, and most importantly, stay deeply, unapologetically you. Catch you on the flip side. Stay weird.